and of course he sent Principal Secretary because they were having cabinet meeting. And the reason why we invited him is because the member for parliament for Kakamega County brought a motion in the House which was passed on 2nd of November 2022 that the ministry develops a policy and ensures that the learners of in the whole country get food, because our constitution sets it as a right to access food and compulsory basic education. PS, we have stepped him down so that he comes with the relief figures. He brought the policy, yes, but he did not come up with the relief figures that will make us or enable us to implement what the motion was all about. Because the motion is specific, that without the food, the new food sustains our children drops out of school. Therefore, the whole country, instead of this selection they have been selecting, the whole country is in dire need, that the learners need to be fed. Therefore, the parliament in its wisdom resolved that all learners in all basic education schools are fed by the national government. And that's what we have been doing. So we have stepped him down to come back in the next 2 weeks with the figures. We want to know how much does it require them to feed the whole country, number of children that are there that need that food.
When is this program coming to its full course?
Of course, in the next 2 weeks, we want to and then call the Treasury and tell them this is what the Minister of Education has brought, and you need to implement, because Parliament does not pass motions in vain. The Commission have not paid the retired President his dues, because there is an act of Parliament, and our committee is supposed to implement all the legislations that are passed by Parliament and ensure they are implemented in their entirety. The law is there. It is his right to be paid what is right to him. All motions, all petitions you bring, all legislations that are passed by Parliament, this committee must make a follow-up to be implemented. All committees, once they have passed those motions are brought to Parliament, whatever deliberations, it is this committee that takes over from there to ensure that those deliberations are implemented.
Do you have the numbers of those ones who are likely to be affected because of the budgetary issues?
Well, they have told us that at the moment they are feeding 2 and likely they will drop out. Many of them will drop out of the school, because even if they are not given that food as it is required. Well, they had talked of that's where they have been targeting. But now the motion is that the whole country should be targeted, not
have a right to go to school. Children have a right to basic food. So we find that in our country right now, we have children who are experiencing stunted growth because they have no food. I just want to take this opportunity to thank the implementation committee under the chairmanship of Honorable Wanjala for bringing to light this motion, which was passed unanimously by all members of Parliament in 2022. I just want to thank you, because this is long overdue. We are almost doing 2 years since we brought this motion. Now, talking to the PS is cognizant of the fact that right now the feeding program is only representing the ASAL community. But when you look at Kenya, the poverty index is because it is only looking at the 25 years, and up to now, the child in Kenya is suffering.
Mwesh, this one I'll ask, any of you can answer. Considering that next week the motion will be brought to the House concerning the finance bill, do you think this will cover or it will affect the whole program?
Well, there is what we call supplementary budget always. So as we are working towards that whatever that is there, what they have planned now will continue as we follow up on this. But you see, this feeding program started in 1979 by Moi. Even me, I'm a beneficiary of school feeding program because we used to drink milk. And that's what sustained us to be in school. We could not fail to go to school. Some of us who had dropped out, we came back to school because of milk. So we know what food makes a child, sustains a child in schools.
Right. As my chair said, as a country, we have no excuse not to feed our children in school. Research has proven that feeding program in school help the children to stay in school. And as a country, it's actually shameful for us not to be able to feed our children in school. I come from so-called Asal County. And in Kajiado County, where I come from, I have asked schools whether they have been receiving or have receiving the cash for food programs. And most of them have not. Why our schools have not been receiving food. And he stated that there have been some delays that has to do with, of course, disbursement of cash from the finance department, but it shows that the school feeding program has not been consistent. And a motion was passed by Parliament in November 2nd, 2023. And we requested that must be implemented, that all schools across the country must benefit from the food program. I've seen in their budget that they requested 3.4 billion shillings for the feeding program this time round. And yes, that is the budget is coming up, and that is one of the things we will support. But all in all, there is no reason not to feed our children. It's actually shameful for a country not being able to feed its own children. The food program have shown that the children will remain in school, they will remain focused in school, and especially in arid and semi-arid lands where we lost so many livestock, there isn't enough food there. It should be mandatory for the government to provide food to our children. Our schools are hungry and they need food, and they don't need to wait the policy. We have heard from the PS that the policy is being developed and it will be presented to us in September. But that is not the reason why the food should not be in schools right now. The food should have been in school right from the beginning of the year, and the program should be rolling because it has been ongoing and it should continue going, and that food must reach to our people. Thank you.
Another member of parliament here?
Which has something to say.
Okay. Mine is very simple. The program has been running since 1979. What is perturbing is that since 1979, the schools and the areas that were identified are still the same schools and areas that have been benefiting so far. We have other areas due to climatic changes that are equally affected. For instance, when I talk about Meru County, part of Isiolo, for example, Isiolo town, 3/4 of it is in Meru County. We have schools that has been moved even out of the airport to create room. And those schools that are next to Isiolo border, Matavidi, along that line, my constituency, Gembe North, 3/4 of it is within the Asao area. I have more than 50 schools that needs to be rolled into that pockets of poverty for it to be benefiting. What we are saying, even if they are budget constrained, some of the areas that are seriously faced with the drought phenomenon should be benefiting so far. The issue of not having money and having all some schools benefiting throughout the year, come in, come out, is not tenable, it's not good, and it's not fair. What we are calling is for fairness in this country.
Thank you, Mosh. Asante.
More Radio 88.2 FM. We are in charge. More Radio.